welcome to episode 135 of Anime and Us. I am TJ.
And I'm Shawn.
And this is the review show that reviews anime from A to Z. Sort of. Did you forget that you had to come in there?
No, you did a little thing, so I did a little thing.
Okay. It's
very impromptu.
Okay.
So the episode before last, we spun the wheel for category L. Got Log Horizon. Before we get into whether or not we liked it or anything, go over the wiki real quick. It's a Japanese novel series written by Mamare Touno? I have no idea if that's a woman or not. Let's click on it.
No picture.
No picture. Come on.
Well,
he. It says
hold on.
he. That could be frame of
But
speech.
he was charged with tax evasion.
What?
For reportedly violating the corporate tax law.
Up to 100... failed to file 120 million yen, around 10,000... Oh, no. $100,000 in royalties. Jesus Christ.
Huh. Well.
All right. Well, I like this guy. Log Horizon is a Japanese novel series written by that guy and illustrated by Kazuhiro Hara. Began serialization in 2010. It jumped around between a couple different publishers. I don't know when the manga came out because it doesn't actually say. But anyway, it was
real on the side.
Nah, it was translated into 4 different mangas.
Right.
One was what we're watching.
Mm.
The other 3 were supporting characters, which I find interesting.
Yeah.
If you really like this, that's something to watch or read.
I mean, there's a lot of characters, so it makes sense.
TV show came out 2013. It seems kind of old.
Yeah, an anime series in October 2013 and March.
That seems kind of old. I thought it was newer than that. I thought it was like 2016. Anyway, there's 3 seasons currently out.
Apparently, there's a 3rd season being made this year.
Yeah, it already started coming out
last year.
Well, yeah, I guess last year. It's 2022 now.
Yeah.
But so there's 3 seasons.
I just thought it was interesting because there's 7 years between the 2nd season and the 3rd.
That's weird, isn't it? The studios sometimes get caught up in certain things, and it takes a while to come back to something.
That's true.
Like they might have obligations for the next couple of years. We're doing this, and what are you going to do?
It's just a long time.
It is a very long time. It is a bit odd. Overall, I actually liked it, although...
Me too.
Although the first... and this is a rough guesstimate for the episode number, around episode 10, maybe 12, it was shit till then.
Yeah, it kind of was.
Like, shit.
They fell into a trap of over-explaining
instead of showing you. Like, they could have just explained a little bit and showed you the rest, and it would have been fine. It also would have been like 3 episodes worth of content.
Right.
But whatever.
Like, if you didn't know how to play an MMORPG, you do now, because Jesus Christ, did they go over every little detail.
And I mean, they kept up with the over-explanation for the rest of the show. It's a cornerstone of the show.
Right.
As a lot of newer animes are. But it wasn't as bad.
But when they got into explanations about how the world worked instead of how the game mechanics work.
Yeah. And that wasn't as bad. For me, around the point when the big knight dude from the round table started hitting on the princess, so that's when it started to get good.
How do you not remember his name?
Kraft?
Krusty. It's such...
Why did I think Kraft? Krusty.
I don't know. Krusty was such a
It stuck out. It definitely stuck out.
I just thought Krusty the Clown from Simpsons.
Well, I don't watch Simpsons. Never have.
I've watched it when I was younger.
I watched an episode or 2.
Yeah, I mean, it was on.
Before we go any further, because I'm going to forget this, there's a very flamboyant male character. Don't know his name. He's a very minor character in the series. Mm-hmm. He's muscly, and he has that lisp. He's in the last couple episodes. He helps them.
Okay. He's with the samurai
Yes,
kid.
The guy that voices him reminds me of Man Bear Pig from South Park. And I've only ever seen like 2 episodes of South Park, but that was one of them. Like every time he would speak, I'm like, that's Man Bear Pig.
Okay.
But I would forget that. Sorry. We'll continue.
Yeah, he was like the stereotypical gay character in this.
Yeah, it was a bit much, but...
I mean, like,
whatever.
Literally, yeah. I mean, it is what it is.
Clearly he was the gay one.
Yeah. Anyway.
So the show folded into over-explanation, and that was... It's big crux, it's what it leans on, but for the first 10 to 12 episodes-ish, it was just terrible because of that.
And for the first... Well, I wouldn't say first. Like, around episode 3, when we learned that death means nothing, the tension kind of drew out of it.
And then later on, they brought back death kind of means something.
Yeah, so...
Which is a good point.
Right.
But you didn't go anywhere. There's a couple things that they didn't go anywhere with. It pisses me off.
It's the first season.
It is, and there are 2 other seasons, but...
Because it didn't even end like a first season would end. It ended like, we're going to be back for a second season.
Yes, it was very... Like, sometimes we say it's clear that there's more. Uh-huh. Usually that's because there's, like, unanswered things. This is like, no, next episode, there's shit happening.
This is clearly a setup season.
Yeah. Which is so funny that there was years in between.
Well,
it's kind of funny.
The second season released a year after the first season.
Oh, okay. It was the third season that took a while?
The third season came out last year, so...
That's even weirder.
Nah, I mean, I just found out. I just read the wiki with you.
Yeah, that's even weirder. Like, it would make more sense if there was a gap from the first to second, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was popular. Premise. But I'm not done what I was doing here. We'll get the premise when I'm ready to get the premise. I guess it was popular around the time of Sword Art.
That's when I watched Sword Art.
Because
right around then, the first time. Sword Art had been out for a few years before I watched it.
Yeah, but this is so. I'm assuming Log Horizon came on the heels of Sword Art following in that footsteps, and then with that trend that probably died out. But then I guess enough time and fans came around, and that's why the third season came. Since
Sword Art was brought up, I was on the Log Horizon subreddit, the forum, and I sorted from top of all time for posts just to get a feel for it. I do that sometimes with certain animes. And there's a meme post of an SAO character saying "Stop looking down on us," and then the Log Horizon character's "But you're beneath me." Something it was to the effect of that, and it's no, it isn't. SAO's way better. What do you This isn't terrible. I don't want to say I fell in love with it, but it became very watchable towards the end.
Yeah,
But SAO's way better.
This was definitely
it's night and day.
I don't understand the hate for SAO because it's got a lot.
I think because so many people love it, it's like Nickelback. So many people love Nickelback. It's like Nickelback. I think that's what it is.
Because there's a lot of people that I've saying we covered our first episode. We covered Excel World, the predecessor to started. Well, technically, it's the predecessor to it as far as it was made before, but it's the successor as far as this. But I got into this long conversation on our comments on YouTube about how Excel World, that person saying Excel World was way better than SAO, and that one is terrible.
Yeah, it's objectively not good.
Right, so I
also think it's, I don't want to say children necessarily, but it's sometimes people watch something and they like it, and that's perfectly fine, but you should be able to see the flaws in it and not say it's the best thing in the world. I've read plenty of books,
right, and
I know so many of them are flawed, but I enjoyed them. But my enjoyment shouldn't override the fact that it's not, a Nobel Prize winner.
Well, I don't think that's the problem. I think because we're talking about SAO, I think it's got that problem. It's super popular, so people...
That's a bit different.
So people are just, sometimes they just, I hate it because it's super popular.
I think that's what Sword Art has.
I don't know. And I thought Sword Art was good. Well, it's got problems too.
Sure, but it's above average for a isekai.
Go watch or listen to our Sword Art review.
But it's above average for a isekai, and there's a reason why. I don't want to say it launched the genre, but I think it put it in the spotlight.
No, Dot Hack, I think, launched the genre.
Definitely Sword Art.
Go listen to that review too.
But was it popular before Sword Art? And I don't think, at least on screen, it was. Maybe for mangas, I'm sure, the whole isekai genre. I think on paper, on manga, it definitely was, but not necessarily on the screen.
I don't know, because Dot Hack...
It had its sequels and everything, man, but if I asked people that watched anime back then, all of our friends, most of them know of Dot Hack, but they never watched it. Cowboy Bebop, they watched it. Yu Yu Hakusho, most of them watched it. Dragon Ball Z, they watched it.
I'm just saying, because it has a lot of sequels, sure, in anime, but it's got a lot of other media. It's got 8
Oh, it's got a lot. I think the games did really well. It got
8 video games to it, and I have all of them.
And also, if something does really well in Japan, it's gonna create other franchises.
You know what? It makes sense though that the game will be popular. It's based on a freaking game.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Anyway, premise.
There you go.
What are we? 10 minutes in.
Premise.
People start playing this game called Elder Tales. I'm surprised I remember that.
Yeah, Elder Tales.
And they while this new expansion came out, so some old players came back to play the expansion. The big sword guy, the tank.
All the level 90 characters.
They all came back. Yeah. Expansion. Essentially what happens will WoW every time there's an expansion, which fairly realistic.
Yeah.
And during the launch, everyone's playing, and it seems like a deep dive VR. I think that's what it was, but I don't think they actually say that.
No, it wasn't.
It could just be a regular game.
It wasn't a deep dive VR. It was either, because they do show the main character at a computer at one point.
You're right, they do. Well, he could have been playing other games. He could have been playing strategy games, because when they were showing him that, they were talking about strategy. He might not have been playing Elder Tales.
I think he had a headset on.
Well, it could just be for ears.
No, a headset.
Oh, I gotcha. I see what you mean.
So
like a VR headset.
I don't think it was I think it was just regular VR. I don't think it was deep dive.
I guess. Yeah, that's probably the best way to go. But they all get trapped in the game. So they're inside of the game.
See,
now, go ahead.
You say that, but are they? Because
they can't log out.
But I know. But it all seems like a game. But it also seems like they could have been just transported to another dimension.
Yes.
Because...
Well, that would be a weird dimension because all their game abilities work.
I understand that.
Could it be that? Sure, and I guess we'll find out if we ever watch season 2 or 3. But we don't really know. I think the best guess is that it's some weird... They're trapped in a game with this weird update that has Tokyo in it.
Sure, but they don't say we're trapped in this game. They say we woke up one day and we were all just here.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's not like they put on the headset and they were like, oh, now we can't log out.
Yeah,
it's just like we woke up, there was some kind of event, and now everything's real.
That'd be great if that happened. That's why isekai is a great genre. It really is.
I don't think I would want to live in that world. That world looks like it sucks.
If I can get out, I'd be okay with it. Well, they've made it pretty livable by the end.
Yeah, but they had to freaking work at it.
That's true.
And apparently
the first 6 months the time frames here we'll get into that are really vague.
Yeah.
But the first X amount of days, weeks, and months, they were eating super bland food.
Not only because
they didn't know how to make good food.
The food was all cardboard and stuff because they were dependent on the game mechanics. They cook it for them, but if you cook it yourself and not depend on the game canon,
we'll get into that. Anyway, premise: they get stuck in the game. The NPCs are now humans, but you don't really figure that out till 12 episodes in or something like that. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of it. Now, there's a little more to it. Like, for instance, they figured out if you die, you're not dead. You respawn.
Well, only
at the cathedral.
Players.
Only the adventurers.
Adventurers, right?
Not the NPCs. The NPCs are called
the people of the land.
People of the land. Just call them NPCs. But they're like people now. They have consciousness. They're not just, hey, here's a quest, which they actually talk about a little, which is kind of funny. But yes, if you die, you come back. Now, they talk later on about how their memories seem to start getting erased little by little every time they die. And it seems to be memories before they were trapped in this space.
It's memories of the real world. So as the more they die, the more they become integrated into this world.
Which makes me think that the people of the land were them, but they're just descendants of them. And they've died so many times over thousands of years that they have zero memory of ever being outside of this. Or, their ancestors who would have died off have zero memory of it. Now, that wouldn't make 100% sense because every time they would die, they would just go to cathedral. But who knows? Maybe something happens. But maybe when you completely forget your past, you can't be respawned.
I don't think so. I don't think that's how it works because they do mention at one time that time works differently. So, 5 minutes is like an hour. So they've existed for all those periods of time.
I'm just throwing it out there. There's a lot of plot holes in animes, and that could be one. That could be it.
That's true, but I don't think that's it at all.
Yeah. Anyway, so they're just kind of all there. The adventurers are all there. They don't really need to do anything to stay alive. They have to eat for whatever reason, but it's easy to get food even though it tastes like shit. Most of them are very high level, so it's they don't really have to do anything.
Honestly, it turns into a political economic anime after a while.
Yes, but it's the same trope that our main character suffers from, where he's always thinking 10 moves ahead, 4D chess, and you're playing checkers. It's that same over-explanation, I'm always going to win, I'm better than you. No matter what, whether he's fighting, or whether he's talking to a princess, or whether he's talking to a king, or whether, you know what I mean? He's always 10 moves ahead.
I agree, he's a one giant trope.
I hate it.
But I kind of like his personality.
He's not terrible, you're correct.
As far as these protagonists normally go, he was one of the more tolerable ones, considering. He's not,
the dialogue for him was so much better.
Oh, yeah.
When he talks to people, it felt way more genuine than, haha, I'm better than you. Yeah, which is a lot of these animes.
And it felt like his dialogue had more gravitas than everyone else's. In which sense, he's kind of running everything. For
sure. But with all those other animes, like we were saying, that do this where I'm always going to win. I'm so much stronger and better than you. None of that's there.
Yeah, no.
Absolutely none of it. So they made the character pretty well.
Yes. It's just, he's a giant trope.
Yeah, it would have been better if they were all at level 1 and those first unbearable 10 to 12 episodes could have been them leveling up a bit.
It's in the first few episodes, he's got Kirito syndrome where, he's a solo player.
He really has that.
So, it's and then, of course, he makes a guild because it's called Log Horizon. That's the basis of the
and that
show.
Was a big character development for him. it was hard to watch that.
But it lasted for 5 episodes. It happened, and then nothing came of it. People start joining his guild. So what?
Yeah.
Like,
it's weird.
He's got a group of friends now. Ooh.
The first mission, they have to go get this girl halfway across Tokyo or Japan or whatever, and save her from these groups of people. Yeah, well, and we find out that, all of the adventurers on that side of the world are just making slaves of everybody and being real heads, essentially. Mm-hmm. But, see, and they did a little bit more of that when they came back, a little bit more of the quote-unquote slave-type labor, indentured servitude, I guess. My problem with all that is, even as the kids, because typically the children are the ones being quote-unquote enslaved, they can't hurt you. You die, you get revived. Like, big deal. And this is before they knew about the whole memory thing, so it's like, just die and respawn and leave. Right. Like, why are you staying there? When I came to the adventurers, sure, but they were also, like, enslaving people. Yeah, that was up. And stuff like that. So, that's what I mean by the tension's gone. Like, when we find out that they can't die. Yeah. So, but... Like you said, some of it comes back a little later. I think it still needs a little more stakes, honestly. I think it does as well. A little bit more than your memory very slowly gets eroded. If it was like half your memory the first time, hey. But like the whole middle of this anime is them making treaties with the kingdoms. Yes. Before that, though, right, real quick before that, they find out very early on that fighting's different. If you want to go through your commands and say, cast the spell, it'll work. But it's slower and it's not as effective. You have to, actually do it. So if you're a sword and shield guy, go swing that sword. Don't, hit a button on your menu that's up in front of you. Right. It's just like the cooking we explained earlier. Yes. And then, sort of explained. And then with cooking, for instance, you have to actually cook. You can't just hit the commands. So you could create a steam engine. You could create anything. Essentially, we learned that all the rules of the game can be broken. Is if you have the imagination to do it. Yeah, it's a weird mix of their knowledge and game leveling skills, and then bam, you can make a battleship if you just know how to make steel and how the engine works. Exactly. As long as you know how things work, you forget a warehouse and manufacturing all these things, making sheet metal. That didn't take forever. But they just do it. To be fair, though, they can also use the game mechanics to do that for them. If you don't need, that's what I'm saying. They're fusing their knowledge in the game mechanics, exactly. And it's fine. It's passable. Yes, it's not a big gripe. It's already a hard to believe concept anyway. So what difference does it make? Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the reason why I want to explain that real quick is because it ties in later on for a story arc that I actually kind of liked. But then, like you were saying, it goes into the whole treaty thing. The land and the people have a kingdom where they all live, and they have an army. They have a big army. Yeah, there's a point where a bunch of goblin, an event that usually happens every year or so is not taken care of, and so the event plays on, and the Goblin King rises, and then the Goblin Army show. The administration said it would, but usually there's players to do that, but since no one's taking quests. Yeah, they're just kind of just screwing around. Yeah. No one was culling the herd. Right, exactly. So they rise up, but that's only a minor thing. It's really the adventurers versus the people of the land. And they said that, very early on, before they even met this kingdom. Hiro, I think his name is, the main guy with the glasses. Or Shiro? Shiro, is that it? He said very early on that we need to befriend these people because they outnumber us. And he said vastly. He didn't say what number to number, but probably a whole lot. Because they're not very skilled. Their fighters are fighters and they can hold their own. But they're not very skilled. One adventurer could probably kill 1,000 of them. So, if he's worried about them overwhelming, there's probably a whole lot of them. Yeah. And I don't know. The show didn't focus on fighting and action and leveling up. And I think that's what saved it. Yes and no. Because I think that saved it for the shit we went through. Because that's true. They could have had that earlier on, and it would have been fine. It would have been better than what we had. That's true. But yeah, after how bad it was in the beginning, you're right. This was a huge reprieve. But it's just definitely... And they still talked about it a little bit, because after this point, it was really 2 stories happening. Oh, that's true, because we had the group of younger adventurers. That were all level 20-ish. Yes, and then we have the main cast doing their thing, too. The main cast is doing the whole political, we gotta join forces and be happy. And then the younger cast is, all right, we need to learn how to train, learn how to work as a group, and get overall stronger individually. And, so they're taking care of the Goblin Army and so forth and so forth. Now, there's a story with one of the one wizard, the blonde-haired wizard from that little group of kids that I really liked, and I wish they had done it better.
Yes, me too.
Because they're in this group, they're training, they go do a bunch of things. At the pinnacle of it all, because there wasn't really a whole lot to talk about until the very end. Except for the blonde kids hitting on the one druid, archer, I don't know what she is.
Kind of, but
she's a healer.
He kind of hits on everyone, but they two end up kind of...
being a thing.
Yeah.
Sort of. Well, he ends up dying, and in his dying breath, or in his dying scene, you find out that he's not an adventurer.
Yeah, he's a pure percent of the land. He just wanted to be an adventurer.
Which would have been so much better if we knew that earlier. But when you spring it on me when they're dying, I don't care as much. If I had known this was his secret and he secretly wanted to be an adventurer the whole time, I would have been rooting for him more.
But they did.
Did they? Did they tell you that early on?
They didn't tell you. But when the druid girl tried to add him to her friends list, it wouldn't work.
I remember that in a flashback scene. No, I don't remember that actually happening.
That actually happened.
Okay.
While they're training in the cave.
I didn't see it.
Yep.
All right.
But yeah,
I'll rest my case.
You rest your case.
Well, I'm sorry, I withdraw my acquisition or whatever. Accusation.
But yeah, they did hint at it right there, and I knew right there.
I like that. That's good. I missed it. Damn it.
And he does die. I don't like that they brought him back.
I don't mind that they brought him back because of the way they did it. They built up the whole Shiro, making contracts and everything. I wish the contract was done a little bit differently to make more sense than we're just going to sign this paper and you're healed. We'll talk about that in a moment, but I didn't mind it as much.
Yeah, I like I said, that kind of saves it. But at first, when they were like, "Oh, they're just gonna bring this guy back," that's kind of...
So he dies, and then the two party members are sort of healers, and they're like healing him and casting resurrection, and it's not really doing anything.
Right.
But the one girl is like, "I can kind of feel something, but it's not working." And then she calls Hero, whatever, and he comes over and saves the day. What he does is he has a contract made where you sign it in his contract, and the contract says, essentially, you're going to become an adventurer, and it's for the people of the land. Well, he revives him for like 3 minutes only, and he signs it, and then he turns into an adventurer, and when he dies, he respawns.
Right. But now, here's my question. Can he get out of the game?
Oh, that's a good question. See, but that would make a lot more sense if it was those were real people.
That's what I mean. That's why I'm kind of thinking...
This would lean to that a little.
That's why I'm kind of thinking it's not a game they're trapped in.
Oh, well, you get what I'm saying. This would lean... But what I mean is, him, if he is able to come out of this and be human, then the whole thought process of the people of the land being the gamers, eventually makes sense a little more.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking if this guy's supposed to be an NPC in the game, and now all of a sudden he's an adventurer with human abilities, can he come out if it's a game?
Maybe.
I don't know. It's got a lot of good concepts, but it does meander a lot.
A lot.
Like the season finale of the first season is... There
was 2 episodes after that weren't needed. This felt like LVAs. So the season finale... Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I don't know.
The season finale for me was like the end of the battle. Not necessarily the end of the battle, but like they have their battle. The guy, he kills the Goblin Lord, not the Goblin King, because Goblin King's off yonder. They're building that up still. And the fighting's pretty much over. They're having parties, and then like they're having a festival, and those felt like OVAs. They didn't feel like they were needed.
Did you finish them?
Yeah. I remember the last part. That was important.
Well, yeah, where all the people of the land were causing trouble.
Yeah, again, so I felt like an OVA for me. The last part with the Witch of the West, I think is her name, that felt like it was needed part of the story. But the rest of it, for those 2-3 episodes, felt like filler.
She caused all that.
I know, which is fine.
Well, I know. Like I said, it was kind of...
But my point is, the only important part of those 2-3 episodes is the 3 minutes he's talking to her. The rest of it's just kind of fluff.
Well, not really, because it was the people of the land coming together and attacking the reputation of stuff. It wasn't... It's almost... You could... If you say that, it's like that... Them fighting the goblins weren't important either.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was okay.
It was alright. There's other plot lines we could have talked about, like the 12-year-old girl that has a crush on him, the adult woman who looks like a 12-year-old girl that has a crush on him.
There is a lot of...
Which actually, it sounds worse than it is. It was done tastefully. It wasn't that bad. Like, there are 12-year-old girls that have crushes on adult men.
Honestly,
it happens. This wasn't terrible, sorry.
There's a lot of romance stuff going on in this. But it's focused on a lot, but it's not like...
It's not center stage. It's not like, oops, panty shot. It's not...
it's there because it's a story, and you kind of need romance in stories.
And the 12-year-old girl plotline was a little more genuine. She had her heart broken. She realized she probably shouldn't have crushes on adult men.
Yeah, it's like, it's believable stuff, essentially. Yes. And it's not like anyone got together.
Yeah, which is weird. I felt like that should have happened with the assassin girl. Like, she's building up for it, and nothing.
Yeah, but she never goes for it.
Well, that's kind of my problem, is like, the princess thing, and the princess with Krusty, and the finding out what we're in, and the whole stakes of dying, like, finding out these answers were brought up so many times and we never got any closer to it.
Again, because I think this is a setup.
Sure, but like that and the 30-year-old girl looks like a 12-year-old girl, the assassin, like that's another plot line. Like, you have to conclude some plot lines. You can't just bring up a bunch and then not conclude any of them.
Speaking of the princess, I actually think she was my favorite character.
The princess?
Yeah.
She was alright. Another thing I wanted, and this is tied into that, the whole contract to make them adventurers. Great concept.
Yeah.
You could have done more with it. And I'm sure they will in the following seasons, but like, what I really feel like they should have done was, if they aren't going to do it later, is have Krusty and the princess marry, and then make her an adventurer, and then, everything's all bound together.
That's where I thought I was going.
I thought it was going in this season for that, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah, no, they send her as a ambassador.
Ambassador, essentially. But, like, there's a lot of treaty talking, and, like, Krusty and the king of the people, like, sitting down and talking and stuff, and it's like, oh, this is where it's going, and he keeps courting her, and then nothing.
Yeah, but they also mentioned that he kind of sees her as a sister.
Yeah, they mentioned that a little. That seems to be a pretty common thing in Japanese anime and manga, so, like,
but to be fair,
I'm sure that would still go to relationship level eventually, just because of that.
Fair, he says she reminded him of her sister, and that he misses his sister. So that doesn't necessarily mean he views her as a sister.
Yeah, not at all.
Just someone like that.
Yeah, there's a stereotype of, like, boys turn into men, and when they do that, oftentimes they find women that remind them of their mothers. Same with girls and fathers and stuff. It's a stereotype for a reason. So it's not necessarily a terrible, gross thing. Anyway, based on the first 12 episodes, I was about to give it like a 3.
Yeah, I was.
After that, and the rest of it that I honestly liked, and I would like to watch more of and find out the answers to these things, 7, maybe 6.
I was
7.
at a 6. I'm not at a 7.
Yeah, 6.
I think the first.
I guess the rest of it pulls it down.
The first half definitely hurts the show.
6 is solid.
Yeah, it's.
I hope when the second season starts, it doesn't do the same fucking issue where there's like 10 or 12 episodes of shit.
That's true.
It needs to continue.
I also want to mention there's a lot of characters we didn't mention in this because there are so many characters. Like, he's got a whole group of
There's people. Just too many. And all of them have at least a little bit of a plot line. There's a cat guy that is clearly the black person of the group. Okay. There's... Am I wrong?
No, you're
okay. Right. There's a bunch of other characters that have a little bit of a plot line. Like, the cat guy was the chef that showed everyone that the skills carry over.
But
you can't get into it all because there's so many.
Honestly, if any of this interests you, you should probably just go watch it.
Well, that really should have been the beginning.
Yeah.
But we didn't really ruin I guess the overarching plot of the whole first season kind of gave.
Kind of, but we didn't really tell what happened.
Not everything.
And honestly, I don't know if I could recommend that first half of the first season.
That's so bad.
Yeah.
Maybe watch the first 2 episodes to get the premise and then skip to like 11.
Maybe, but then you miss out on all the build to it, though.
It's worth not watching it. And I can confirm it's worth not watching it because for the longest time, my friends have tried to get me to watch Parks and Rec. I'm a big Office fanboy. I love The Office. And I would always start Parks and Rec. I would get 2 episodes in and it's just so shit I couldn't watch it. Like, it's Amy Poehler. I hate her. Like, I hate her character. I hate it. Now, Dan, you know Dan.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Told me to skip the first season many times. He said, just skip it and start off on the second season. I did that. And it's pretty good. I'm halfway through the second season. It's great. I like it a lot. So sometimes skipping can be worth it. And I honestly think you should skip 7 to 9 episodes.
That's fair, but I think most people have, well, maybe not most, but a lot of people have a completionist mentality. And if you're going to start that, you got to kind of do it.
Nah.
I don't know.
How do we rank it up with other L's?
All right, so we had...
So many.
Little Busters, which you did not watch.
Oh, yeah, that's still 5. That's still like on the end.
Levius.
Okay, not good.
No. Lastoria, the family of the Arcade is the mafia with the cards.
Okay. Land of the Lustrous.
Illustrious,
remember that one.
And Log Horizon.
Land Illustrious, Log Horizon, and the rest is... It's a blur.
I like Little Busters better than the other two. I guess Levius and then the stupid Mafia one. Although that one gets a lot of views on our channel for some reason.
Land Illustrious number 1? Then Log Horizon?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The top there, obviously, the top two.
Obviously.
Land Illustrious was just surprisingly good. It's sad.
Especially when we thought it was going to be terrible.
Yeah, especially... It's a shame that didn't get it.
Yeah. Claymore for me, too. Like, didn't think it was going to be good. Watch it. And amazing. Like, second season, I'd watch it.
And Kill la Kill.
Kill la Kill.
Yeah.
I'd watch it.
Yeah. Jeez. Anyway, yeah.
All right. Spinning for category M.
Yeah.
Thought I had that turned
We
up.
haven't had much luck in M, honestly.
A lot of M. Mar. M-A-R.
Okay.
Let's go find out what Mar is. It's going to be terrible.
Sounds like it's going to be old.
It does sound like it is old. Oh.
Oh, 52?
Ooh.
Yeah, we're going to be doing like 3? Like 3 and maybe the last episode?
Mar. Action, adventure, comedy, fantasy, romance. The box art is mid-90s at best. And cartoonish. Like, this is supposed to be a Saturday morning cartoon, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is definitely going to be one of those ones, like, since there's so many episodes, we're going to watch, like, 3 episodes, and then the last episode.
Yeah. Plot summary. Ginta is a Japanese high school boy who often fantasizes about a land known as Mar Heaven. One day, he is mysteriously summoned to the imaginary land, which is in fact turned out to be real. Upon reaching there, he learns of powerful weapons known as arms that exist in Mar Heaven. Okay, that's a weird way to write that. With the companions and friends that he meets during his travels, the group seeks to destroy the Chess, a faction led by the mysterious Phantom, which is just determined to bring about Mar Heaven's ultimate demise for reasons unknown. All of that is like gotcha generic things.
And the box art looks bad.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. Like, you're supposed to sell me on that?
Yeah.
Whatever. Next episode.
Bye.
Mar. Bye.